Thank you so much. So, fellow Rotarians, I'd like to introduce Don Sears. He's the VP, Vice President with the Fraser Valley Gleaners. Converting donated vegetables into dehydrated soup, the Fraser Valley Gleaners takes donated produce that would otherwise be thrown away and converts them into soup mixes to help feed those in need in developing countries around the world. The Fraser Valley Gleaners is 100% donor-driven with hundreds of volunteer hours contributed each week. The Gleaners is also a ministry to their volunteers who are primarily seniors, providing them with meaningful work in a social setting. Please welcome Don.
So thank you for the opportunity of sharing the Fraser Valley Gleaner story. And first we're going to start with a film. So hopefully it works.
Through the feeding program, through the dehydrated vegetables. And so, yeah, I just love the work that's happening in Paraguay. I love the work of the Fraser Valley Gleaners. I'm so thankful for this partnership, and I'm thankful that these children are able to receive a nutritious meal and to hear the gospel.
I'm the administrative assistant for the Fraser Valley Gleaners currently, and it's been my privilege to have been involved with the Gleaners for the past 10 years. My daughter came along and said, "Hey Dad, you should try the Fraser Valley Gleaners." So I did, on speculation, and I was totally sold on the concept. The idea of rescuing food and making it available to the hungry people of the world, and being able to do that personally seemed like such a God-given opportunity that I'm sold. I've done it for 10 years, and Lord willing, I'll do it for 10 more. We get local vegetables from local farmers, product that isn't quite as beautiful as it should be to be acceptable, product that somehow doesn't meet the market conditions but is perfectly good. And we rescue that. Instead of the suppliers throwing it out, we take it, we process it, take out the bad parts, and turn the good parts into dried product that we amalgamate and make into a soup mix, and then make it available to organizations who ship it all over the world. People come in, we have volunteers who come in and help out with it, and like myself, they become totally, they buy into the concept. Being the hands and the feet of the Lord to bring food to the hungry of the world just sells itself to so many people. And I don't know any volunteers here who haven't been totally enthusiastic about rescuing food and making it available for the hungry people of the world. Yeah, serving the Lord in that way. We can't all be missionaries. We can't all be, go out into the field and build homes and rescue the people who are in distress. But we can come here, rescue food, make it available to the people who really need it. We evaluate our productivity on the number of meals or servings we make. And currently our organization here, the facility here, we're making about 14.5 million servings a year.
So my name's Carl, and I'm the general manager at the Gleaners. I look after the day-to-day operations, making phone calls to look for product, or solving problems. And we usually have lots of product and lots of people coming to work. And basically it's rescuing the vegetables. So we start off the season in April with greenhouse product and usually go once or twice a week with tomatoes and peppers. That season goes from April till the end of November. And then in between there, we'll get locally grown carrots. Then there's broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Potatoes also come in there. We usually try and mix our tomatoes with potatoes. And onions, we do a lot of onions. A lot of our onions come from the United States, and they come in by a truckload, like 50,000 pounds at a time. And I've got amazing volunteers that come and help us peel onions. And it gets a little emotional from time to time where people are trying to get through the tears. But generally after about 15 minutes, the tears go away, and then you remember why you're peeling onions, and it's to make the soup taste good. And it's the whole project is to make a soup that is pretty basic and yet can be used throughout many different parts of the world, and then they can add their own spices or whatever taste that they would like to customize it with. And once it's dry, then it gets packaged into bulk barrels for storage. Starting in January, we start packing the soup mix. And it's exciting to see the full circle of gathering, packaging, and also then loading the containers for our partners, our organizations that take the food and do the distribution.
Well, Gleaners, this organization has been going here for about 18 years. It was started by some volunteers who saw the need and the opportunity to make a dried soup mix. And so they started up with just a small group, and since then it's been growing, and it's just a tremendous growth group here with people excited to do the work. And just this morning there was about 20 of us from, well, sort of the Vancouver area. Enjoy coming here. It's just a great opportunity just to see what's happening, and we're providing food for all the people of the world. It's great. God is good.
Hello, my name is Monique Lewin. I work for Global Aid Network, which is the humanitarian partner of Power to Change Ministries. I've worked there approximately 2 years, and at GAIN, which is Global Aid Network, we are very thankful for our partnership with the Fraser Valley Gleaners. In partnership with the Gleaners, we have shipped over 20 containers to different locations around the world. So the primary location that we have shipped dehydrated vegetables to is Paraguay. So in Paraguay, there are approximately 400 nutrition centers located around the country where approximately 22,000 children can receive a nutritious meal. The nutritious meal is in partnership with the Fraser Valley Gleaners. They have developed recipes to make it also local to their culture. And one of the most important things about this is these children are also able to hear the gospel for the first time through the feeding program, through the dehydrated vegetables. And so, yeah, I just love the work that's happening in Paraguay. I love the work of the Fraser Valley Gleaners. I'm so thankful for this partnership, and I'm thankful that these children are able to receive a nutritious meal and to hear the gospel.
So now we'll transition to a slideshow. There we go. Carl was the head of the Gleaners. We've just made a change. He, after 20 years, has retired, and yet he retired at the beginning of the year. And guess who shows up today? Carl and Elaine chopping vegetables, doing their thing. It was just so neat to see. All right. Well, first off, Psalm 115, verse 1 says, "Not to us, Lord, not to us, but to your name be the glory because of your love and faithfulness." You'll notice 1999, that's when we started. That was 23 years ago. So this is the side of the building. I show this because you notice the wide parking spaces. We're all retired. And so we need lots of room to park. Inside the building, you'll see 24 stations, people working opposite each other. And in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a guy carrying buckets towards the dicer. And we'll talk more about the dicer as we go along. So far this year, we've made 13 million and at the cost of 5 cents per serving. Can you serve a bowl for 5 cents? Tell the guy, oh no. So this is a look at what the buckets get filled with. And at the beginning of the morning, beside the dicer, there's a formula put up for a recipe. And it might be 2 buckets of peppers, 1 carrot, 1 green, 1 frozen. That's what you mix. And so each of these buckets get dumped into the dicer eventually. Every hour equals 150 bowls of soup. Can you make 150 bowls of soup in an hour? So this is the one on the left is the end of the soup line, and we'll look at more about that later. The guy in the red hat is one of our drivers that drives the truck. There's 3 or 4 of us that volunteer to drive the truck to different organizations where we pick up the product and get it delivered. Total volunteer hours so far is 26,433 hours, 26,000 hours. And we're averaging about 42 people right now. We need more. This is loading a container. So in that container, there's 1.2 million cups of soup. And this gets shipped to the many countries around the world. And we'll list the countries that we've done so far. But 1.2 million goes into that. So far this year, we've rescued 285,730 pounds of food. Joel keeps track every day when things keep adding on to that. This is kind of cool. Now, we like to get together, just like you guys like to get together and eat, right? So this is our break at 9:45. We take a break, and some of us outside, some inside. The cost of the coffee and everything else is all covered by recycle cans and bottles. We have one gentleman that looks after that recycling. And that adds up to about $10,000 for the year that he can get just from the recycle that people bring in. This guy was an ex-janitor at a school where I used to teach. He calls me Mr. Sears because he can't say Don. It's Mr. Sears. Good for Brian. So far we've gone to 9 different countries. But overall, we've delivered to over 53 countries since 1999, which is pretty amazing. So here's the soup line. And take a minute to explain it. Each of those barrels contains a different vegetable. Some are mixed. You might mix carrots and onions and that kind of thing together. those barrels are filled, covered, and then when we go to the soup line, they're brought out. Now you'll notice that each person has a little bit different size cup because we have to make up so that when it goes into that white bucket, the white bucket gets dumped into the bag and it has to fit properly. Ahead and figures out what we need of each kind. So that's why we have the different size containers that we dump into the white bucket. Now, as you fill the bucket, you're supposed to pass it along. And there's a motto, it's not a race, but would you please keep up? It's amazing how fast that line goes. We were making 15 million servings prior to COVID. Since then, we really had to cut back. In fact, it even closed for a while. And then we came back again. We were only allowed to have 20 some people there and you had to sign up ahead of time and everything else. So COVID really put back the ministry. Who comes to Gleaners? Well, these are two brothers. They sit opposite each other and they work like just great. Sisters come, husband and wives come, children come. During the summer, we had families come and be there and work together. It was so neat to see mom with the son or the daughter and talking as they cut the vegetables up. We also have school groups come. We had 45 teachers from one school come. This was part of their preparation for the year. And what better way to come and work together to find out how you rub shoulders with your fellow workers, right? And then we have youth groups come. We even have people come at night. And if you have 25 or more people that want to get together and come in the evening, we will be there and help you out. COVID has exacerbated poverty around the world. We know that. And the need for food hasn't been greater. Now, this is what comes out of the dicer. That amount of food that you see right there is probably from 3 buckets dumped into the dicer. How long does that take to dice? Try 10 seconds. You put it in, done. I mean, it takes longer to walk around and turn it off and turn it on than it does to dice. And you can't dice it. It's some beautiful 1/4-inch cubes. It's just so neat. And then that's mixed up and then put into the trays for drying. So prior to COVID, we were at 15 million servings. And then it goes down to 220. We're down to 10. And then now we're back up a little bit. In 2020, we produced 10.2 million servings. We were fortunate right at the beginning of 2020, one of the suppliers had a big freezer and it was full of frozen material that was just too old. So they donated it all to Fraser Valley Gleaners. And with frozen product, it's great because we can take the frozen product and put it right onto the drying trays without going through processing. You don't need a lot of people to cut it up or anything like that. And it really works quite well. Then in 2021, we actually had to purchase some frozen product. Never done that before, but you had to purchase it. It was better product, but we had to purchase it. And then also they made, Carl made contact with a company in Quebec, and we spent $140 bringing $140,000 bringing dried vegetables in. And again, they're already cut up, so they can go right to the soup line. Don't have to have volunteers prepare them and all that kind of thing. So that really worked out well. And of course, we can't do that without some generous donors that come along the way. So far we've done 13 million soup servings in 22. Again, we're outside. We would like to expand the facilities for eating. There's some complications right now as to that with the agricultural land reserve. We'll have to work that out. But that's one of the projects we have. We're replacing some of our dryers. The dryers are 23 years old. They wear out. And so that's a cost that's coming. And so prior to COVID, volunteer-wise, we had 55 per day. COVID comes, of course, we're all old and we lose a few people. And people, we said only 20 can come. You have to sign up. So that took a while. Now we're back to the doors are open, come and bring your friends. And we're starting to get that back up. We're up to about 42 volunteers per day now. Now, not all the product comes in those bins. Some comes from stores or facilities where it was ready for sale, but it just didn't quite get to the store. So here you have a gentleman that's opening up cauliflower. It has a plastic bag around it kind of thing. He takes that off and dumps it into a bin, and that'll eventually get inside. Now that happens for potatoes. It happens for, what else comes like that? Oh, apples as well. Frozen apples come like that. On the right-hand side, you'll see the guy in the back is Bob. He spoke to us in the film, and he's working at a large vat where you can put 300 trays in and let them soak. And that, so then after that, they can go through a machine that cleans them, and then they get stacked and dried. And then you have the gals at the front. They have a clean, dry tray, and they're putting a Teflon sheet on each of the trays. And of course, the Teflon sheets have to be soaked and dried, that kind of thing. So it's not just cutting vegetables. There's all kinds of tasks that go on at Gleaners. We need more volunteers. You got your friends, send your wife, your husband. Nothing to do in the morning? Guess what? We got someplace to go. We can make more soup. These are two gentlemen, Walt and Ben, and they are working with frozen apples. Those are already diced apples. Now, the reason I draw your attention to that is because those apples are dried and put into a bag all by themselves. And that goes along as a little treat. You take those apples and you just put them in your mouth and eat them. They're delicious. They're just delicious. So each shipment gets a bunch of apples sent along with it. Now in behind, you will notice those bins, and that's not the Fraser Valley Gleaners signet on there. Those bins come from an organization wherever we picked up product. And so we keep track of them. We take those bins back in our truck. They take the empties, and guess what? They give us some filled ones. And so we're very organized there to do that. So far this year, Uruguay, Burundi, Guatemala, Poland. We sent two groups or two loads to Poland for the Ukrainian refugees, Dominican Republic, South Africa, Ethiopia, Nicaragua, Zimbabwe. Sounds like a world tour. That's what happens with our food. You know, you wonder why you do this. And here's the reason. It's very encouraging for people to see these pictures, to realize that somebody does get that soup. More people. Each of the bags, I would say, probably about 10 pounds by the time it gets filled. So this little guy, he's got 20 pounds on top of his head, no problem. Just going along. That's it for my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them after we're done. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation, Mike. One thing I could not quite wrap my head around in your slideshow was pre-COVID, you were doing 15 million bowls of soup, right? Did I get that right? And in 2021, for the first time in the organization's history, you had to buy frozen product. So my question is, in addition to the COVID's impact on your volunteer base, why are you suddenly, like, was it supply chains? What caused, you were able to do 50% more in 2019 without buying frozen than you were in 2021. Where's the shortfall in the vegetables and the supply coming from? What's causing the shortfall?
It's not so much of a shortfall as it is we don't have the volunteers to work the product. With only 20 people in the room, you can't cut up what 45 people can do. That's where it comes from. So that's why we had to do it that way. Good question.
I just wanted to say thank you for what you do. We were, Lane and Rod and Bruce and Dave and myself, we're all in Guatemala in 2020, just before COVID hit. And we got to see your product being used. There was one place that we went to that the women had these big vats that they were making soup. Judy makes soup for, I don't know how many people. She was doing soup for the firemen too, right? So
Yes.
it was really excellent to see product from Abbotsford being used in Guatemala when we were there. And I really appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
So Don, you mentioned the groups of 25 or more, you will open up in an evening and have them come in and do some volunteer work. Tell me what that looks like. In other words, if the Rotary Club of Abbotsford said, we'd like to come one evening and work with you for a couple hours, what would that look like?
So I didn't quite get the question.
So if there was a group of 25 from the Rotary Club that came to volunteer, what would that look like? What would we be doing?
Oh, you would be cutting vegetables. We would have a couple of us there to work the dicer, but you would be the ones putting the materials onto the trays, that kind of thing. You would be helping clean up after the time is done. If you come in the morning, then you're just part of it. We've had 45 people, teachers come and just add on. We had close to 95 people there. We can handle that, believe it or not. We've got extra stations we can set up. If you come in the evening, then you're there as a group and we set up everything and away you go to work. You come about 6:37 and you work to about 8:30 and then we clean up and be out of there by 9.
And so I'm pleased to hear that jobs that don't involve sharp knives, because that means Bruce could attend. So that's good.
Yeah, Don, when Rod asked that, I was concerned we might have better tasting soup with some rotary fingers in it.
Thanks, Don, for that presentation. Question, those 10-pound bags, approximately how many servings in each bag?
Supposedly 100. When you mix it up, remember everything is dehydrated. So there's big pepper, but when you add water, it becomes a big pepper, that kind of thing. And they mix, I think, about 100 cups of water to that and whatever spices they want to do. Yeah.
Don, I had just had one more question, was the number of days you're doing this. So you talk about, 45 volunteers a day. How many days a year do you actually do this?
Basically, we take off the holidays that you normally have. At Christmas, I think they shut down for a couple of weeks, just a typical Christmas break kind of thing. Other than that, we're open for business.
Wow.
Yes, yeah.
So that's
And especially in January, February, it's basically just soup line because we've got all the materials and nobody's growing peppers or anything. And we just do soup. And we can produce 8 or 9 pallets of dried soup a day. I mean, 8 or 9 pallets is, was it 12, 40 some on a pallet. So it moves along quite quickly.
Wonderful. I have a question about volunteers. So if somebody wanted to just stop by and volunteer as a one-off, are they allowed to do that? Or is there,
Yes,
do you make a request for a commitment for volunteering?
no, there's no commitment. If you don't feel like going, you stay home. If you want to come, try to be there by 8:30 and you'll be out of there by 12. And some of us get there a little bit earlier because we like to get things going, but 8:30 till 12. And you'll have a little bit of break in between.
Wonderful. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Anyone of the Zoomers?
Great questions. Thank you very much.
So Dawn, I want to thank you. In this club, so I want to present you with this certificate, which shows that we're making this donation on your behalf. We support a student, her name's Jeanette Tinketa Dule, and she's in Ethiopia.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And they would like to take a picture.
That's amazing. Your presentation was great. And as Doris said earlier, we did see your soup product in action and actually out throughout Guatemala. So I know the people there very much appreciate it. So thank you.